Walton, we are going to let everybody inside the room and go ahead and start. Again, thank you everybody for being here with us and supporting the plan.
All right, it looks like we have everybody in. So first of all, I just want to say good evening and thank you so much for joining this conversation to discuss the District 10 safety plan and ways to make sure we work together to keep the community safe. I do want to start off by acknowledging that Mayor Breed is here, and I will introduce her in a minute, as well as our community partners and leadership. We are laser focused on keeping our community safe, whether it be pedestrian safety, traffic safety, or addressing violent crimes. Safety is imperative for all of us who are on this Zoom tonight. I want to thank everyone in attendance, as we cannot achieve our goals of stopping violence without all of you. Our safety plan aligns with our Vision Zero for homicides and violent crimes goals. We have to do all we can to address the violence in our community, and unfortunately, District 10 has bore the brunt of gun violence in this city for far too long. 20 homicides in 2020 occurred in District 10. 85% of those impacted by gun violence are Black and Latino men. The largest combined percentages of violent firearm crimes take place in San Francisco's Bayview, Visitation Valley, and Potrero Hill neighborhoods. So when you ask why District 10, the data demonstrates that we have to make a major focus on stopping and preventing violence in District 10 to make sure that we stop violence here in the city of San Francisco. Our office, along with Sfsafe and community, has worked on a plan, the District 10 safety plan, that was developed through a community planning process that we desperately need to support our work if we are to be successful in stopping violence. This plan brings together all of our stakeholders to create change and brings the voice of community to action. We are asking the following to ensure the safety of every person in San Francisco: violence prevention teams to provide street outreach to high and in-risk youth who are most impacted by violence, continue to work with our street violence and intervention prevention team to build a response and awareness team to help provide services to our communities in District 10, the San Francisco Police Department to station officers and fix hotspots in District 10, community officers that establish positive relationships with families and neighbors, officers that think about support and help above anything else, foot patrols and community violence prevention strategies through positive law enforcement presence. And finally, the reason we are all here is a commitment from all of you. This past budget cycle, our office secured resources for District 10 to provide more jobs, activities, case management services, and services for transitional age youth and adults. But without proper coordination, we are just going in circles. And that's why we are all here tonight. So without further ado, before we dive into more about the plan and introduce and say hello to our captains, I want to introduce the mayor of this city, who is working hand in hand with us in District 10 to address violent crimes, to address shootings, not only here in the district, but across the city. Welcome, Madam Mayor, and thank you so much for attending and being here this evening.
Thank you, President Walton. Really glad to be here. Really glad to see so many familiar faces who have been actively engaged in trying to address violence in our community for so many years. I'm glad to join you here tonight. We know we have a lot of work to do because far too many of our young people are falling through the cracks, and this is not a new conversation. Over just this last year, San Francisco has lost children to gun violence, to traffic fatalities, and to the crisis around mental health, and it's unacceptable. We have to do better for our children because there were a lot of adults when we were growing up who did better by us. With our schools closed this year, and with our community centers and our nonprofits shuttered or at reduced capacity, more than ever, we have got to come together to look out for one another and to take care of our children. When I was a kid, the community looked out for me. We had challenges, yes, but we took care of each other. So it's really time that we rise up and that we do better, especially those who are on the ground working with young people. We know this is a difficult time for all of us. We have so many city services and nonprofits that are set up for this. And we have to make sure that all of the nonprofit agencies that are being funded to address violence, that are being funded to support our young people, we all need more out of each and every one of you. The reason why I started a program called Opportunities for All, where we provide paid internships for every high school student in San Francisco, is because I never want money to be a barrier to the success of our young people. All of them have potential. How do we redirect that potential to something more positive, something more constructive? The Department of Children, Youth, and Families and the Recreation and Parks Department, they helped us set up community hubs. The Rec and Park staff, they've been at the table working with our kids and working with our teens. We have programs like the Street Violence Intervention Program. They put their lives on the line to make sure that people are safe. And I know it hasn't been easy. We have the Wraparound Project. These programs, they do great work, but we need more. We need to get creative. We have to make sure that the connection between the challenge of a young person and what we're dealing with, that we're able to offer that young person an alternative. We need to find more ways to prevent young people from feeling as if they have to resort to crime, as if they have to defend themselves for whatever reason. All of these turf wars and all of this has been going on for far too long. Every person on this call, every person I know is sick and tired of going to a funeral in this city of a young Black man, of a young Latino man. We can do better than this. We have to find paths to reach those kids. We have to find ways to get them early, to put them on the right path. We need to keep at it because none of us are satisfied with what's happening. We can't become complacent and accept that this is somehow normal. We are all here tonight because we understand the urgency of this challenge. The D10 safety plan is an important community-based approach to use our existing resources to bring together the community and groups that are ready to do the work, whether you have a nonprofit or not, to try and meet our young people where they are with the tools that they need. Not the same thing we've done in the past. We have got to do something different. And that's what this conversation is about, is for us to listen, to hear you, and then to take action as quickly as possible. I want to recognize and thank Arturo and the Street Violence Intervention Program for being on the front lines. I know it's not easy. You're the ones showing up to the hospital and meeting with the families and trying to prevent retaliation when gun violence occurs. I know that work is stressful on even you, but you show up and you do it every single day. And thank you for continuing to build trust with our communities. And I'm going to be asking them to do even more to build bridges in Chinatown. And as we reinforce a community forward approach to public safety across the city, I'm going to be asking our city departments to work better with the community, to find creative ways to get the job done. We have a lot of work to do. And I want to thank President Walton for offering solutions and for being a partner in this effort. We are all committed to seeing this through. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight, but we are going to make change. We have an incredible opportunity as we come out of this pandemic to make our city better and safer for all of us. And thank you all so much for being a part of this conversation tonight.
I just want to first take the time to say thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I know that you understand the importance of this work to prevent violence and to provide intervention strategies to keep our communities safe. And so I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here with all of us this evening. And I'm just excited about having the support of your office and our continued work together to make sure that our communities receive the support and resources they need. So thank you so much for being here with us. I do want to take the time to introduce a few key folks. This is an exhaustive list. Obviously, I may miss some people, but I do want to take the time to acknowledge Police Commissioner DeAndre Brookter, who is on here with us, the Director of the Department of Children, Youth and Families, Maria Sue, Captain Nicole Jones with the Ingleside Station, new Captain Nicole Jones, and new Captain David Marin with the Bayview Police Station, and also James Caldwell, the Director of Violence Prevention for the Mayor's Office. I do now see Chief Katie Miller with the Juvenile Probation Department, and I will come back, of course, and make further introductions as we move through this presentation. I do just want to remind us all of tonight's purpose, because we have had a chance to talk about this plan with a lot of our city department heads, with a lot of city leadership to get their commitment in terms of their role and their goal in this violence prevention plan and public safety plan for District 10. But with that said, tonight we wanted to bring our CBO, community-based organization providers together to hear the plan, to have a conversation about what role they feel they can play in supporting our communities and keeping us safe. We all know that this is not going to work with just a law enforcement strategy. We know that it requires community leadership and community coming together. We know that we need our CBO partners to be heavily involved in this work. And we need our residents and our communities to come together and say, we're going to work to provide options and opportunities for strategies to make sure that we are all safe. And so with that said, I am going to just go over a brief PowerPoint about what the plan is. Then we are going to come back together and hear from three of our key partners in this work who played a major role in not only in setting up the plan, but who will also play a major role in getting this work done. Like Mayor Breed said, we have to do better in terms of addressing violence in our communities. And I know that we can get this done by working together. And so with that said, I am going to go through this presentation. I'm not going to take a whole bunch of time, but this is going to give you insight to the core components of the plan. We will put the link to the entire plan in the chat so that you can see the entire plan. I know a lot of you have. I have personally sent you the link and have had an opportunity to see it, but I want to make sure that we go over some key components. So with that said, next slide. So the goals of our District 10 safety plan is to increase the role of the city and county of San Francisco in public safety. And again, everything we talk about here is very specific to District 10. You're going to see some of the same themes, some of the same strategies we talk about, but this really is a focus on District 10 as we look at the data, as we look at where violence is occurring and what type of violence is occurring. And so we need to increase the amount of resources that are provided from the city to come and make sure that we address violence here in District 10. Number two is to establish a District 10 violence prevention convener. That's someone who's going to work with all of our violence prevention and all of our violence intervention providers, coordinate the work, coordinate the forums, coordinate the meetings, coordinate all of the work that we do together. Fortunately, that person has been hired. They are working under Young Community Developers. We'll hear more about that relationship and what they're doing in their role, but that's an important and key piece, making sure that all of the services that address violence are coordinated and have a District 10 specific focus because of what the data demonstrates. And goal 3 is reimagine community mobilization and peace planning efforts. And this really discusses the innovation, how we all work together to address the violence and promote peace in our communities. The pandemic has changed some of the ways we're able to address violence. And as our mayor said, we have to be innovative and do more as community to make sure that the violence is addressed. Next slide. So just want to talk a little bit about the purpose and partners. And the purpose is to reduce the number of homicides and violent crimes through violence prevention strategies by city and public service stakeholders. So basically, we're talking about all of us. The partner process. Our convener will meet with each community-based organization partner in District 10 to see how we can work together to align program goals and reduce violent crimes through new strategies. CBO partners will identify the following: what neighborhood focus they would like to work on, what commitments they can make, the referral process for their individual organizations. That is important to make sure we know how people can connect, get services, and be able to be served through the work. Excuse the format, obviously working on different platforms, things look different, but the convener will also keep an ongoing list of individuals and ensure ongoing engagement and connections with partners are happening. All of that part is important. And so as we go through the rest of this presentation, we want you to be thinking about where you may fit in this role as we are working to keep communities safe and address violence. Next slide. So here are our 5 strategies. School-based intervention and prevention. Obviously, in some cases, we need to start early. We know that some of the issues that exist in community start at our schools, and so we need to have strategies in place to nip that in the bud and make sure that that is addressed. Strategy 2, mediation and truce negotiations. If something does occur, if something happens, we need folks that are going to make sure that things don't escalate, that have relationships with folks in community, and we need to make sure that that is coordinated. Obviously, our street violence intervention and prevention team does a lot of this work, and we want to make sure that everyone is working together in District 10 for that to be successful. Strategy 3, increase community partnerships and coordinated interventions. This is a big part of why we are all here tonight, to make sure that we can get on the same page and focus on addressing violence as a unit. Strategy 4, increase transportation and transit safety. Aside from, of course, keeping people safe from a public safety standpoint and addressing pedestrian safety and collisions, we also know that our transportation hubs are a big area in terms of where things may occur, where incidents may happen. And so we have to have strategies that address that, because how people flow and move through our city and how they are kept safe through that process is important. And finally, strategy 5, culturally responsive service providers. So all the folks who are working to address violence, all of our organizations that are participating in addressing violence in our communities, they have to have a relationship with our communities, but more importantly, they have to have some cultural connection, because we know in reality that you're not going to be successful in stopping and intervening in violence if you don't have the cultural competency to serve in that particular community. Next slide. So in terms of how we convene, in terms of how we work together, our main goal really is to centralize, coordinate, and facilitate management of resources and violence prevention strategies in District 10. Some of the responsibilities as we convene and work ongoing and continuously are going to be to meet regularly with community partners, convene monthly meetings to discuss and track safety progress in District 10 with referrals from partners, participate in community concierge team, and report back to community accountability team. And those details are in the full plan. Ms. Worthy will talk a little bit about some of that work, and track commitments and ensure youth stay connected. We also need to assist in engagement of all activities, meeting agendas, facilitation, follow-up notes, and a calendar for all Vision Zero homicide and violent crime convenings. Standardize best practices and work on ways to evaluate outcome measures across intervention services that come from our expert partners. Ensure effective wraparound support to individuals impacted by the violence and trauma. Continue to be sure that connections are made and follow-up takes place, and attend community presentations and meetings, receive stakeholder feedback, and support community-sponsored events. And most of this is the role for our violence prevention convener. And again, you'll hear more information about that work and how we're going to do this together in tonight's forum. Next slide. So we have currently 3 core community partners. Now, I want everybody on here to know that you are all vital and a major component to us being able to address violence here in the district. And we need and appreciate everyone who is on here. And so I want you to know that this in no way, shape, form, or fashion lessens how much of an impact you all make in this work. But we do have 3 core collaborators in this work. And this really is just in relation to how resources have been coordinated within this work. And so we have our street violence and intervention and prevention team. They're going to be the lead in outreach and crisis response. You're going to hear from Director Cavillo in a little while. Sfsafe, Director Kyra Worthy is going to be speaking in a little while, but they will be the lead in neighborhood merchant response and continue to host town hall meetings and forums along with our office, assist in the convening of meetings for safety response, assist in launching a plan to continue to support the different teams and to assist the community in holding city departments and CBOs accountable to the District 10 community. And young community developers will be the lead in bringing in community partners, accepting referrals, and making sure that the right placements and supports are made. And of course, the violence prevention convener is housed in young community developers. Next slide. So the next steps for CBO meetings and some of the things we're going to talk about here, and I will stay on this slide as I bring up our first presenter, and it's going to be Mr. Arturo Cavillo with the Street Violence and Intervention Program. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Cavillo, and we would love to hear from you and your role at this point.
So, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Are we good? Okay, so as just really the short version is SVIP is committed to be part of the safety plan and responding to crisis and street outreach to help facilitate whatever conflict mediations that we possibly can. We look forward to a plan to respond to partners, right, and develop the necessary referrals to be able to reach out to the youth and be able to make the referrals to the participating agencies. We also are willing to participate in any community meetings that are necessary to keep the communication and the collaboration going. You know, we have street outreach workers that go to the hotspot neighborhoods from Potrero Hill to Alice Griffith to Sunnydale to the OMI and all the different sets in between. At some point when schools are coming back, we will help with conflict mediations in the schools, in middle schools and the high schools, where the kids who live in those neighborhoods go to those schools to be able to support however we can. On the crisis response, you know, as most folks know, SFPD contacts DPH. They have great workers that go to the crime scene and or the hospital. We support DPH with rumor control, de-escalation, crisis management, crowd control, and we'll go back into the neighborhoods to try to minimize retaliation as much as possible. Those are like the three big categories that I'd like to present.
Thank you so much, Director Cavillo, and we appreciate the work of SBIP and the entire team. And again, you are a vital and important piece of this work. And so I want to thank you so much for your work together, not only on the public safety plan for District 10, but all you are doing throughout the entire San Francisco community. At this time, we are going to bring up young community developers to discuss their role in the partnership. And I believe I should be calling on Miss Tracy Taper. Has she arrived at this point yet?
Yes, Supervisor.
Tracy?
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to Mayor Breed and President Walton for giving us this opportunity. I personally have been doing this work for 20 years. What has not changed is the violence in our community. And I think this is a big opportunity for all of us to come together and to reimagine what we can do to support our young people and stop the violence in the community. Our role with Young Community Developer is to support this process as a collaborative. Although the convener is housed at YCD, he works for all of us and will be bringing all of us together to support this work. YCD is committed to, as far as services are concerned, we provide employment and educational services and case management services. But through this process, we are hoping to work with you guys to bring all the resources to the table so that we can better support our young people and to really dig deep and find out where are the gaps and what do we need to support. Through this process, as you guys are, I see everyone is putting their names and emails into the chat. That information will be provided to the convener, who I'm going to introduce to you, and he's going to talk more about his role. We will use that information and we'll be reaching out to you guys individually to host community safety meetings and begin planning the process. It'll be a dual process because at the same time as we're planning what we're going to be doing to support the safety plan, we actually need to be doing the work as well. So how do we hit the ground running? As Ms. Shaman Walton just stated, we just had numerous murders happen in the community. And what we want to start doing is really responding and supporting the families around this. I'd like to introduce a few of our team members. I have Valentina Cedeno, our program manager, and our, is Raymond Whitley on here? I don't see Raymond. I can't see everybody the way this is set up, but.
He's on.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Raymond Whitley. He has been hired as the convener. Raymond, can you come on and say a few words, please?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Thank you for your time. Excuse me. Again, thank you, Mrs. Breed, and thank you, President Walton, for everything in the safety plan. Like our president was saying, I'm the violence prevention convener. My role are to coordinate the CBOs and coordinate these services and get them connected with the youth over in District 10. And pretty much, yeah, just to convene, just to get everybody to work with each other. I think we honestly got to look at the message that we send our youth when we are working together to provide these services. And definitely knowing that, you know, it being community-led and community-driven is very important in the community. And like I said, just my role as a convener, just to convene this safety plan and get these CBOs that's funded under violence prevention to work with each other collaboratively to bring these services together. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to another team member of mine, which is Mr. Percy Birch.
Good evening, everyone. Percy Birch, legislative aide to President Walton. like the mayor and our beloved president said, we need to be creative and innovative in these approaches to bring peace to our communities. With that being said, my role along with Raymond, we look forward to partnering and collaborating with each and every one of you around solutions and additional ideas to bring peace to these communities. And also with that, my job would be to find resources for activities and other possibilities for youth to have other opportunities in community. And so I'm putting my email in the chat like everyone else. Please take note, reach out to me. I'm willing and able to make time to meet and also support Ray as he's convening all of our CBO partners. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone for taking the time this evening to show support to our District 10 community. Thank you.
And so I want to again thank Young Community Developers as well as Raymond Whitley for stepping up to serve in this role. And again, as Ms. Taper stated, he is your convener. He works for all of you, and his role and his job is really to bring everyone together so that we can protect and keep communities safe. I do also just want to take the time to acknowledge a few more people. I see that Alex Barrett Shorter from Assemblymember Chu's office is on here this evening. Thank you so much for attending. I see Drew Jenkins with Mercy and Turf, also representing Sunnydale and Viz Valley communities, is on here. Dr. Navina Bobbitt with the Department of Public Health. And I want to make a special shout out to Janice for sending the video for our Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday, singing Lift Every Voice and Sing in celebration of Black History Month. Thank you so much. We have the president of the Port Commission, Ms. Kimberly Brandon. I believe I saw her on here. And I want to acknowledge all of the community partners and CBOs that are also on here. We have B Magic, we have Turf represented, the Bayview YMCA, Mission Neighborhood Centers, Black Wall Street, Hope SF, Adult Probation, Department of Children, Youth and Families, Department of Public Health, the District Attorney's Office, and I am sure that I have forgotten someone. I am sure that I will come back and do my best to make sure that you are acknowledged, and want you all to know that I appreciate all of you. Rafiki Wellness, I see Dr. Lasser. Thank you so much for being on here. Black to the Future is represented. And with that said, we're going to bring up our other core partner. And without doing an introduction and talking about all the great work that we've done together, I'm going to let her speak in detail of their role within this work. Kyra Worthy, the Director of Sfsafe.
So, hello, everybody. I appreciate the invitation, and thank you, Mayor Breed, for your encouraging words, and President Walton for keeping us in the loop. So our role with the plan initially was to help bring all the community partners together. We convened, numerous little small community groups, and that's what I pulled from to be able to produce the plan. So our role will continue to support the different teams and to assist the community, and also with the city departments and CBOs so that they could be held accountable to service the D10 community. Part of the problem is in the community, there's a lot of resources that are funded and everything that's funded to go through District 10. But unfortunately, the residents don't actually know what folks are funded to do. So my team and myself will have an accountability report card for all CBOs and city departments on their performance on serving District 10 residents. So it doesn't matter what it is. Whenever there's a call, there needs to be some type of response or a number or a live body community residents can speak to. I run a program that is citywide, and we touch all 11 districts of the city. It takes 3 days, 7 days to get some things worked out in most areas of the city. Unfortunately, I've been working on a project that was in the same caliber in Park District. It took 7 days. It's taken over 90 days until this day, and it's still not completed. And I'm pushing and pushing, trying to understand why. So we are training our community members to go to different meetings and go to the supervisor's office to try to get answers on why their community has to look and they have to endure everything in such a way that they do. So another thing that we're going to be focusing on is these next couple of months, besides a community accountability report card for the CBOs and city departments, we'll be having a community-led community tour for all department heads. I want each department head to see what has been ignored over the years and compare it to other parts of the city. So these department heads will receive a special invitation from the community to go on one of their tours around the community in areas that concern them. So please, all department heads on the line, be aware for that. And then also with our community action teams, and we have community concierges. The community concierges are young people in each neighborhood across the district that are concerned about issues. And these concierges then turn them over to my conveners on my team to be able to work with the city departments to sort of get an answer. So what we're doing is everything is community led, is community driven, and the employees are from the community. So I look forward to working with everybody. And I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Director Worthy. I also want to bring attention that Director Fletcher from Adult Probation is on board, Pastor Sonia Brunswick. We have representatives from Rec and Park Department, Linda Barnard, Patsy Tito, who is the Director of the Samoan Community Development Center. We have Jermaine King with the Phoenix Project. We have Malik Washington with the SF Bayview. I just, want to again bring attention to the fact that we have so many supporters in the work and so many folks that are ready to dive into addressing our violence in our communities and really participating in the strategies that we have as a unit. And so with that said, let's go back to the slide that talks about what we want to hear from our CBO providers this evening. So first, and we'll popcorn this, folks can, we'll ask you to just put your name in the chat if you have something to say, but look at these 5 things. And the first is what stood out in the plan for you? What can your agency commit to? What public housing developments or schools do you currently work with? Can you commit to be a part of promoting Peace Pledge? And any other ideas how you can commit and add to the violence prevention and public safety plan. And just remember, you don't have to, well, let me rephrase that. I don't want you to respond to all 5 of these. We would be here all night with all of your expertise and all of the amount of information that you all can provide to the conversation. But really want you just to look at some of this as a prompt for your commitments to this work so we can combine all of the input and bring it, of course, back to everyone in our April meeting, which we will talk about more after we receive input. So with that, if you could put in the chat, and I'll try and facilitate the conversation through that process. If for some reason we don't get to everybody this evening, I want to apologize up front and let you know that we will do our best, of course, to make sure there's more time available to convene and have conversations about the continued work. I also want to acknowledge Ricardo Acosta, who did a lot of work with us on this plan and who's been working within the violence world for a long time here in San Francisco. And I'm going through my screen as well as we talk about the conversations. And with that said, I am looking at, and so I do see a lot of folks that are making their commitments in writing, which is very appreciative. And so if there's anyone who has anything they want to say and add via statement, please go ahead and either use the raise hand option or just write it in the chat. And I am either going to say that everybody is tired, um, or they just understand how much I have been dealing with these last few days and don't want to keep us on here all night. But I don't see anybody jumping up to say anything. And I appreciate that, first of all, because it has been a long day and a long week. But we do want to allow folks. I see a hand. I don't see a name, but it's 404-513. And you are unmuted.
Oh, hi, President Walton. It's Eric. I live in the community. I wanted to know, it sounds really good about plans to like get to the youth before they get to the youth while it's early and while they're impressionable. But what about the current state of things, especially as it comes to nightfall in the community, specifically around all night pizza, 3rd Street around the liquor stores, and also the friendly market? What kind of safety measures will be addressed going forward?
So, one, I just want to acknowledge and thank you, Eric. Obviously, I've been in discussions with you and your specific neighborhood, and we have a lot of work to do in those areas. The one thing I will say, there is a grant that has been provided to make sure that some of your issues and concerns are addressed. And mind you, that the #1 perpetuators of violence and also victims of violence in terms of age has definitely shifted. And it's not just young people. The demographic is now an older age group. But this particular forum is not about answering questions on specific strategies in specific places, but more about how our community-based organization providers are going to be able to support the work on the public safety plan. As I spoke with you and your folks in the neighborhood, we have a plan in place. And now you actually get to hear some of the strategies or see in the chat of some of the ways those things are going to be addressed. And we are going to be convening with your specific neighborhood group very soon again, as you know.
Thank you.
Supervisor Walton, I wanted to just say there's one more item on the agenda that we were going to present, and it will cover kind of what the next steps are around what CBOs can look forward to in the next meetings. And so I know that Ray and Percy were going to present on that. And just before that, I wanted to shout out Sean Richards. He is someone that we've all worked with for many years in the Bayview around violence prevention. I saw that he was on the call. And then just wanted to shout out a few more people that joined us, and thank you. And to all the people on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. And if you are interested in committing to be part of the plan or on our mail list, please put your email or name in the chat, in the Facebook chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And that is actually why teamwork is important. And I want to apologize to my team for not introducing everyone, but all of the District 10 legislative team is here. Tracy Garriado, who obviously works close with all of you on our violence prevention work and so many other things, as well as Abe Evans, who is a Jim in our office, our Chief of Staff, Natalie G., and of course, Percy Birch, whom all of you know from his work with you and community. And so I want to thank them and acknowledge them for their hard work and dedication in everything that we do. And so I will pass it back over to Percy and Ray to talk about those next steps.
Natalie, can you bring up the form on the screen?
Yes, one moment.
Also, just wanted to say that we're also working closely with the API community, and I know that some of them are on this call, and we will be working closely with them to coordinate services in District 10. While Natalie looks for that, I'm looking at the raised hand. So Chevron, did you want to go or did we already call on you?
No, my name is Shervon, but no, you didn't call my name. I just want to acknowledge that I really appreciate that we're all together. This is amazing, and that Standing Peace in particular is committed to peace activities because as I always say, the absence of violence doesn't mean the presence of peace, and we have to also be intentional about making sure peace is present in our communities. So thank you again, President Shaman, and I look forward to seeing what's next for all of us.
Thank you, Siobhan.
I put it up. Do you guys see it?
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, go ahead, Ray at YCD. So basically, what we're trying to do here is work in partnership with many of your agencies to help create a shared vision, because we don't think that one person can come up with the solution. All of our dialogue has to be solution based, and our vision has to be a collective vision. So for District 10, we like to look at things as being community led, community driven, and community implemented. So Ray is going to present this really quickly, kind of what is our next steps and what you can expect to see in the next meeting with him. Ray, are you ready? Anyone from YCD? If not, Percy, you can do it or I can do it. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. So basically what we're looking at is to develop a shared vision with our core partners, other community stakeholders. We're going to continue to have meetings. This is our first meeting in February, kind of the launch of this collective work together. There'll be another summer meeting to talk about summer sometime in April or May. We'll let you know when that date is. And then there'll be end of the year sometime in November. The role of the partners is the presence and complementary skills of community partners to enhance the critical work of all of the work that we all do in the community, that you all do in the community. Many partners help remove barriers to learning. They make sure that youth are healthy and fed and supported, that their medical needs are met. Other partners help to expand horizons, encouraging youth to think about careers and college and different pathways, employment, etc. There are alternative supports such as case management and specific interest areas like art, music, and computer. The role of the violence prevention coordinator is really to help make those service connections. So what we want to do is be sure that every youth is supported. And how many times do we hear that a kid is killed and everyone says, oh, we know him. He came to our program. He went to our school. We worked with him at what time or another. And somehow we lost them in the cracks because of the transition from middle school to high school, elementary to middle school. And so this is really a District 10 goal to make sure that all of our youth are always connected to positive adults and positive programming. And sometimes they grow out or age out of your program, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that we connect them to the next program or to a job opportunity like the OFA program that Mayor Breed talked about. So this protocol is just a one page. What we're asking is everybody to create a slide so that when we present the slide show, we have your agency included. We also want to have you commit to helping to have a contact person of where we can make referrals so that the partner agencies can accept referrals made. So a lot of times, for example, SFVIP goes out, they work with a group of people, they want to make referrals and they want to follow up. And then guess what? In District 10, there's another crisis. And so they're on to the next crisis. And then there's not much, we need more help to follow up. And so even though you make a connection, the kids might not have been connected. They were not ready at the time. We need to just keep on trying to make that happen. So we want to be able to check in on those kids and those connections monthly and have mid-year check-ins and report outs of what is going on. Also, we want to commit to promoting a peace pledge. We don't have a collective peace pledge. We want to work on one. There'll be a committee that works on that. And I saw a lot of people in the chat. Thank you so much for putting that you would be interested in doing that. And we look forward to working with you on that. And so this is what we'll be looking at when we meet with your partner agencies. What steps can be taken, who's going to be the lead, who will be involved, and kind of what is the timeline. Now, a lot of you all have great ideas, and we just have never had the resources to actually implement them. There is not any idea that we don't want to explore. Obviously, the same old programs have not worked for District 10. We, even during COVID, have we still have the same amount of violence going on. And so really what we want to do is hear from you all. What kind of services and action steps would you like to see? It might not be funded right now, but it's something that we can all work on collectively to advocate. And so that is kind of what will happen as a next step. So please be sure that you put your name and your agency name in the chat so that we can follow up and have a meeting with you. So again, I want to just thank Supervisor Walton for really being as passionate as all of us about this work. And thank you all for joining us in this meeting. And so I want to turn it back over to Supervisor Walton for some closing words. And if I forgot anybody, or you can put your name in the chat and we'll try to address that. Supervisor Walton.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And first, again, just want to remind everyone that we are capturing all of the commitments that are being made in the chat. I want to appreciate all of the CBOs and the leadership, all of just our community partners who are committed to this work of addressing violence and keeping communities safe, as well as our department heads and city departments. Thank you so much for making sure that we are going to do everything that we can to keep folks safe. As this year has started, I think we've seen some changes and some shifts, but the way we have typically been able to address violence has really changed during this pandemic. So it's important to have a plan in place so we can say these are the areas, these are the strategies, these are the people who are going to do the work to prevent the violence. And the Vision Zero for homicides and violent crimes is something that is very real, and it's a tangible outcome to achieve. We've seen a decrease in violence over the years. Things have changed and shifted a little bit with the data over the last couple of years, but we can get back to a point where violence goes down and we actually address it as a unit and with community. And so thank you all for taking your time this evening. I know there's a lot going on and a lot of things that people could be doing. I want you all to remember that we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Please wear your mask. Please social distance. If you are in a category and have the opportunity and the privilege to receive a vaccine, please make sure that you go and get it and work together to keep everyone safe. And I just again want to say, have an amazing evening. Thank you for tuning in. Our next meeting is going to be April 8th. I want you to please put this on your calendars, April 8th at 4 p.m. We will all be coming back together and we will be talking about some of the work that we have been able to do between now and this point in time. And hopefully we will be in a better and different tier so that soon we can come together and have our meetings in person like we used to.
President Walton, we have a few people with their hands up.
All right, I'm going to go down the list of what I see, and we're going to take these 3 comments and statements. Charlie G, NCLF, and then we'll close it out with Mr. Sean Richards. Charlie G.
Yes, hello. You know, the SFPD is part of the community too, and we've been working with Captain Dangerfield we've had about 3 to 4 different captains in the last 3 years. So there's really no consistency. I don't know if that's SFPD's fault or the folks, the commission, whoever may be in charge of that. But we have a safety plan here. What was the SFPD's input on it? I know we're going with CBOs, but as part of a safety plan, where does SFPD fit into this plan?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure when you may
I
have.
can answer that.
Well, and Kyra, real quick, I'm not sure when you tuned in to the meeting, Mr. G, but we talked about specifically what we're requesting from SFPD, and SFPD definitely has a role, community has a role, we all have a role in keeping our community safe. We did explicitly state what their role is. We do have Captain Jones, the new captain from Ingleside, and Captain Marion, the new captain from Bayview. Kyra, we're not going to take the time tonight to go backwards and have that conversation. But Mr. G, we would definitely connect with you and tell you exactly what SFPD's role is. But tonight's call was to hear from our CBO community about what their specific participation is. I'm glad you did bring that up. And we did talk about their role early in this conversation, and we'd be glad to give you all that information as we move forward. NCLF admin, I'm not sure who.
It's Jamil Patterson, and I'd like to say happy belated birthday.
Thank you, same to you.
And board president. And I want to say rest in peace to all those who lost their lives. T. Frank was a personal friend of mine that I grew up with. And I want y'all to know that April the 8th is actually the day Chief Charlie died. And Chief Charlie his death is the one that sparked, him and Peter Lee, their death sparked violence across the city. Hunters Point and Sunnydale, Chief Charlie from Hunters Point. But I like what I've heard, and I like to say, I like to take part in the Pledge Peace, because I think this is missionary work. I think, I'm not afraid to go to any hood. When it comes to Palouse, 3rd Street, it's organic to me, right? And I think it'd be cool if we can get t-shirts made, pass them out to every hood, and pledge peace. And one thing we got to do is get our community to buy into their community. We got to get them to buy into 3rd Street. You put the 15th in a key spot, because you got Rome's Kitchen, right? And then you got a few other, you got the barbershop and the brothers with the t-shirts. And you got the store around, so there's Black business. And so we got to get our people to buy into what's good on 3rd and into our community. And that's one way to get things across. And then lastly, I like what Arturo said, because we got to start knowing these hoods. Some are more violent than others. Now, you could mess around and get a whole block to invest into their community, because some of them is just in the hustling. You got to know this, right? So I just leave it at that. I know you had a long day, and I'd like to say happy belated birthday again.
Thank you so much, Jamil. Mr. Richards? Sean, you still there? Okay, I also see Lynn.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say to Madam Mayor Briggs and to Board President Shaman Wall, and thank you for putting this together. I just want to add that with all the organizations that's doing the work, one of the problems, well, it's not really a problem, one of the issues that need to really kind of be addressed on the collaboration with SFPD, when there is a shooting, when there is a homicide, that the folks that work in these community, is not a threat to them. They're more of a alignment of force to help with the, with the process of what's going on. So we need to kind of make sure we put law enforcement in the midst of this, collaboration that we're doing, that they know these organizations as well, because a lot of these new organizations and a lot of these old organizations have taken on new individuals that work with these organizations now, and then they're not recognized or being noticed of who they are and what the work that they're doing. So SFPD and the folks that are on the scene, and including, I want to also include even with the sheriff department, when incidents happen at the hospital, you know, they need to know who these organizations are. I mean, it's been a few times that, you know, the sheriff department kind of, you know, did not acknowledge, and even Board President Shawan Walton wasn't acknowledged at one point by the sheriff department. So we need to make sure we fix that collaboration if they're going to be a part of this, you know what I'm saying, network of what we're trying to do in the community.
Thank you so much, Sean. And we are really going to close out with Lynn. And so Lynn, you have the floor. I see another hand. I want to apologize, but we are going to have to end with Lynn. And go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, I just wanted to say good evening, first of all, to everyone. What I realize is that Department of Public Health Crisis Services has not really been inclusive, and we're the ones that directly work with the families, not just in homicides, but when these kids are in mental health crisis and going through other situations of crisis. I always say, when you see myself or anyone that's part of my team, you know that it's never good and it's bad. And I think somehow it have taken a back seat. And what I realized in the many years that I've been doing this work, a lot of clients come out of District 10 that's suffering with various mental health issues and dealing with a lot of PTSD. And I think we have to really capture that piece before we could really get into a lot of the other things, because if you have someone dealing with all these mental health issues, it's very difficult. Even if you have a job for them, you got to do first things first and get them not only physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. And again, somehow I feel like my team, we seem to keep getting pushed. I did hear Arturo kind of mention us in his when he came on in his presentation, but again, we're the ones working and really striving, not with just that mother or father, but with that entire family. And we're never really, I'm not saying acknowledged, but I think it really needs to come in the foreplay of what crisis services really doing in the community.
No, and I definitely appreciate that feedback, Lynn, and I also want to acknowledge and thank you for all of your hard work. And we will reconnect in terms of how we can make sure that everyone and all the partners are working better together, which of course includes your amazing work. I also want to acknowledge Sarah Wan with CYC, Rex Tabora out of Viz Valley, as well as Malik Seneferu, who has been working in our community for years. And with that said, I do want to apologize to anyone who has not spoken. I appreciate all of the work for everyone here. You can always email and contact our office at waltonstaff@sfgov.org. Most of you have my direct contact. And I do want to add that when we asked for everyone to speak, nobody had nothing to say. But I do love all y'all and appreciate y'all. And with that said, we will reconnect on April 8th at 4 p.m. Have a great evening and looking forward to coming back together and all of the work that is really 24/7, 365 days of a year. Thank you, everybody.